asking me a lot about why I'm so skeptical of Clare Obscure, why I've been so vocally...
Harmon, everyone already knows why. It's because it's not on Nintendo. We all know that you love turn-based RPG type games, but if it would have been on Nintendo, you would have been all in love with this game. But because it wasn't and it was on a far superior service like Game Pass, you don't like it.
So vocal about this being an AstroTurf product, why I don't take it seriously at all, why I don't respect any gaming YouTuber or journo hyping this up as the next big thing.
It's because it's not on Nintendo. Everybody already knows why. I mean, I don't even know why we got to go through this 8-minute long video.
The short answer is, quite simply, is that I play more RPGs than these people. I know more about them.
Harmon, just because you switch games every 30 minutes doesn't really count that you can play more RPGs. How about these people have probably beaten more RPG games, beaten any type of game more than you ever have.
I respect the genre more. I know more about the industry.
Can you please give any examples how you know more?
I'm far more familiar with like the tactics that the West uses.
Harmon, if you hate Western gaming so much, why don't you just go move to Japan? You can be in love with all the JRPGs and all the Japanese products you can ever want over there. They have so much that you will literally never be able to play every single game that's only Japanese released over there. I guarantee you.
That Japanese RPGs weren't real RPGs. This was something that was used to hype up.
Harmon, what are you talking about? When I was younger, because me and you are pretty similar in age, but when I was younger, it was just called RPGs. It wasn't called JRPGs, but as I got older, they did start distinguishing them differently, because if you go to Japan, guess what? They're not called JRPGs. Most likely, they're only called RPGs.
Companies like BioWare and Larian and Ultima, this idea that these open world games that were more mature and more rooted in traditional tabletop formulas.
Well, they were more mature if you're comparing it to Pokemon. I love Pokemon, but no, those Western RPGs you love referring to are far more mature.
Were superior to Japanese RPGs because they were closer to like the D&D experience. Never mind that Japanese gaming had evolved the formula, had adapted.
Can you please give examples how they evolved the formula? I am waiting.
Better to the video game format and had created like far more engaging storylines and characters than had ever been produced in the West.
Like what? Princess Peach Showtime? Is that where you're getting at?
The narrative at the time was that Japanese RPGs needed to be taken down a peg.
No, that was not true. There is places for Western RPGs. I can't believe I'm actually calling them Western RPGs. But this is just to distinguish it so no one gets confused, because he loves to sit there and use these terms. There's a difference between the Western RPGs and the JRPGs, is very true. But guess what? There is a place for both of them. Even the JRPGs still do phenomenally well. You just can't handle the fact that Expedition 33 is such a huge success because it's not a Nintendo product.
In order to promote like more westernized products.
See, just like I said, he loves sitting there distinguishing the difference. But guess what, Harmon? You know your beloved Donkey Kong games? All those Donkey Kong Country Returns and Donkey Kong 64? Oh, it's a Western product. You want to know why? It was developed by a Western studio. Oh, you didn't know that, did you? Or how about your precious Metro Prime? Guess what? It was developed by Retro Studios. Where is that at? Oh, in America. And for Donkey Kong, it was Rare Games. Where is that at? The UK. Oh my God, you're probably going to start talking crap about Donkey Kong now, aren't you?
They instead decided to start equating their material to stuff that the Japanese do. So instead of being better than the JRPGs,
I wouldn't say that all Western RPGs are better. Now, Expedition 33, it is up there as one of the better ones. I'll give it that.
They are the JRPGs. So like it's if you can't beat them, join them kind of situation.
Well, no, technically Expedition 33 is not a JRPG, because in order for it to be a JRPG, it has to sit there and be made in Japan. That's why it's called JRPG. Now, generally, there is a difference between Western RPG and the JRPG. Usually, the Western RPGs usually look a little bit more realistic, and the JRPGs look a lot more anime.
Anime is more of a genre than like, simply a description of where the animation is from. So instead of like...
Harmon, I know you love going off topic, like sitting there talking about one game and then going to a different genre of game, but now you're going from a game to anime now. What is going on? Why are you... Can you just stay on topic? Can you at least stay in the same genre, please? Can you just stick into the video game genre? Don't be going from video games to, now anime. You're making no sense whatsoever.
Clare Obscure, I think, is the video game equivalent of that.
Yes, I cut out a lot of bits, so now he's back on track with the whole Expedition 33 because there was no point in going over all that anime. I watch a little bit of anime, but I don't know a whole lot about it, and my channel is not that type of channel. It's about gaming, not that.
An obviously AstroTurf product that has no real redeeming qualities at all, that is not a JRPG.
We all agree. It's an RPG, far better than the majority of the JRPGs. I'm not going to say it's better than every single one of them, because I haven't played every single JRPG, but it is better than a lot of them.
And yet is promoted as one. And if you look at the marketing material and you look at what like IGN is saying, and when you look at what all these YouTubers are saying, this is supposedly one of the best JRPGs ever made.
It is better than most JRPGs. I will agree with that. I don't know who's sitting there saying that this is a JRPG. It was literally made in France, if I remember correctly. It was made in the West. It was not made in Japan.
Even though it can't be considered a JRPG because it is not a Japanese product. Again...
Agreed. Who are you arguing with, Ben Harmon? Why do you keep sitting there saying, you said before earlier in the video, that it is a JRPG? Why don't you just sit there and say, hey, it's not a JRPG?
They seem to misappropriate JRPG as a genre instead of simply a descriptor of where the RPG is made,
Agreed. I have sat there and said, JRPGs in Japan... RPG is generally in the West. You like to call them Western RPGs. But I understand, Harmon, you so badly want to play Expedition 33.
The JRPG label was initially invented to downplay RPGs made in Japan.
No, it wasn't, Harmon. It was created because it was trying to distinguish the difference, because when you looked at a Western RPG and a JRPG, they had different art styles to them. So that's why it was created like that. It had nothing to do with downplaying them. And then also, Japanese had a lot of games over there that were only released in Japan. So that was another reason why. At least I believe that's the reason why. Okay, no, I don't have no source for it, so no.
These kind of situations are becoming more and more common, but as they happen more and more,
Harmon, you really got to do something about your mic. Your mic is terrible.
Am seeing more and more pushback towards them. Like Astrobot fell apart in a couple of months.
Just so you know, Harmon, Astrobot is still selling well. Maybe not as well as you would think it would, but it's still selling well. And you sat there and said it fell flat on its face in a couple of months, which a couple means two. Guess what? It won Game of the Year. The Game of the Year was 3 months after a release, so that disproves your argument right there.
Baldur's Gate 3 didn't stay relevant for very long. Black Myth Wukong fell off.
People are still playing both of those games to this day. Are you kidding me, Harmon? You really need to do your own research.
There's all these examples of just all these really forced products that are just shoved down our throats by the gaming media, like expecting us to worship them. Cyberpunk 2077.
Harmon, Cyberpunk 2077 is coming to the Switch too. You should be so excited that you finally get to play a big boy game for once in your life.
Games like No Man's Sky, Undertale, like Celeste. There's just all these examples of mediocre products that are just...
They're all still better than games that you like, or most of the games. Some of the games you like actually are pretty good. I will give you that one. Just this once. You only get one in a video.
That we're just supposed to consider to be better than the all-time greats, right? That's been the trend lately, is just comparing these mediocre knockoff products to like...
Are you going to give any examples for these all-time greats? Are you, Harmon?
These all-time classics, and saying that like, well, this game is better actually. But like, this tactic doesn't work if the people saying this aren't actual fans of the game.
I'm pretty certain that they're actual fans, Harmon, and you do not have to love this game to appreciate what this game actually does.
Like when I see people like praising Clare Obscure, are these people who like play Final Fantasy VI?
What's wrong with playing both? Final Fantasy VI is actually a very good game.
Are these people who know anything about JRPGs? Do they play Shin Megami Tensei or Dragon Quest or Tales?
Probably, but you don't have to play every game, Harmon. There are so many of those games. If they did play them and they told you that, you would just bring up more games and say, well, did you play this? Oh, no, you didn't. Well, you're not a real fan. Nobody can play every single game out there, Harmon. It's impossible.
Like, what do they play, really? You know, in fact, considering like they seem to think JRPG means turn-based, all
right, I'm done with this. This is all you guys are going to get. I can't keep up with this one anymore. But no, a RPG that has turn-based mechanics is just a turn-based RPG, Harmon. That is as simple as that. But that's it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.